Hi, my name's Cody and I'm a tutor at the Center for Writing and Communication. And today I'm going to be talking about how to create outlines for a presentation. So we will look at a sample. And so this is generally what an outline will look like and how it'll be formatted. And first I want to mention that typically when creating an outline, it'll either be for an informative or a persuasive presentation. And the outline will look exactly the same for both of those, but you just want to make sure that your information and the way you have it all organized is supporting your purpose, whether that's informing someone or persuading someone. So that's just something you need to be looking at as you go throughout your presentation in creating it. So the first main section of an outline is the introduction. So in the introduction, you'll start with an attention getter, which is used to grab the attention of the audience. And you can do that either through asking questions, asking some sort of participation, hypothetical situations, or even a demonstration as is done in this sample. So this student is discussing color guards, like marching band color guards. So they demonstrate how to spin a rifle to the audience. And then your next thing will be a thesis statement, and that will basically just be your main idea, the main things that you're talking about and going over. And so they're saying discussion of male participation within marching band color guards. So that's sort of their main thesis. And then the next thing will be your preview. So you'll say, first I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to talk about this, and then I'll talk about this. And those will be things that fit under your thesis statement. And they'll be the main points that you talk about within your body. And you just want to give your audience like an idea of what you're going to be discussing. And the next thing to look at within the outline is the transition. So your transitions will come between your introduction and your body, and then between each body section, and then between the last body section and the conclusion. And so within your transition, you will want to look forward and backward. So you want to look at what you just said and then what you're about to say. So this is coming from the preview, so it doesn't do a super great job at looking backward because it just goes into the next section. But this one, since it's in between bodies, it does a little bit better at this. So it says now that you have an understanding of the technical parts, which were discussed here, we can jump into the benefits, which are going to be discussed there. So it's kind of just saying like, we talked about this, now we can talk about this. And you're just like helping guide your reader through the outline. And then another thing to look at, which are in-text citations, and these will be either in like wherever you use outside information that's not from you. And sometimes if it is from you or from other people, you'll use personal communication if it's like an interview, and different professors may have different guidelines on this. But you'll do your in-text citation whenever you use outside information, and it will be in APA format. And if you need help with in-text citations or regular citations in APA or any other style, you can make an appointment with us and we can work on that specifically, or you can look at PurdueOwl.com, or you can look at our website and we have videos and tip sheets to help with that. So the next main thing to look at is the body. So in the body, you'll typically have 3 main points or 2 larger points. And in your main point, you'll just state what your main point is. So this is introducing color guard. And then you'll have typically at least 2 subpoints. And these subpoints will need to support what you're saying in your main point. So here they're talking about technical aspects and different elements used. So they're like basics of color guard. So you just want to make sure that your subpoints are connected to your main point and that they are supporting it, and that all of your main points are supporting what you're saying in your thesis as well. And the same goes for your subpoints. If you have subpoints, you want to make sure that all of that information is supporting your subpoint. So this is talking about technical aspects. So in the subpoints, they talk about hand placement and then timing. And along with that, you want to make sure that you are mirroring and balancing out your subpoint. So if you have one subpoint, you need a second one. And if you have one subpoint, you need a second one. And then you'll need to have 2 in the next subpoint too, because you kind of want to balance out your information. And those are the main aspects of main points within your bodies. And you'll just do that for 3 different times, and you just 3 or 2 different times. And you just want to make sure that all the information you're giving is supporting your main thesis, whether it's informing or persuading based on what the goal is. And then the last section that we are going to talk about is the conclusion. So the first part of the conclusion is the thesis restatement. And this is basically just you're restating your thesis from above. So you'll say like, today we talked about this, or I talked about this with you. And it's kind of just like, this section is just like going back through what you talked about with your audience, just to remind them what you explained to them. And then your main point summary, you're just going to go back over those main points you talked about. And you can give a little bit more detail since you've already given them all the information. But you'll just say, we talked about this, we talked about this, and we talked about this. And then in your closing statement, which is the last section of this, you will want to kind of like, you're wrapping up what you've said. So you can say, we've seen this, so like, this is what that means, like this shows this. And then the last section of your closing statement is sort of, you want to make sure that you're telling your audience why it's important to them, why they need to know what you told them. Because you don't want to just give them information and then be like, well, now what? So you want to tell them either a call to action if you're persuading them, like, now you can do this, or just why they need to have this information, like why it helps them, what it means to them. And so that's something that's typically good to use to close out your presentation and wrap it up really nicely. And then the last main section of your outline will be a references page. And like I said earlier with in-text citations, if you need help with these, doing these in APA format, you can either make an appointment with us, you can look at our website for videos and tip sheets, or you can look at PurdueOwl.com. And yeah, so those are the main aspects of creating a presentation outline. And I just want to remind you to make sure that you check all of what I said against what your professor says, because they may have small little changes that they like specifically in their assignments and in their outlines. So just make sure you're paying attention to them. And if you have any questions or need any help with any writing, communication, whether it's a presentation outline or anything else, feel free to contact us or make an appointment with us at the CWC.